Every time I watch that intro, all I could think is we need to update this. That is 3 years old. Good God. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my weekly meltdown. I'm Allison, and we're doing a special show tonight. We are going to talk about it. Enough time has passed. We can talk about The Flash, the epic, nearly 3 hour Ezra Miller film. And with me tonight, I have some old but new friends who they helped me cover Obi-Wan Kenobi last year. We have Matt and Dominic. How are y'all doing this evening?
All right.
Hey, doing good. Good to see you again.
It's been a minute. The saga, the Flash saga. Where do we even begin with this? Let's do a round table. On a scale of 1 to 10, Matt, what would you give it?
I'd give it a 7.
A 7?
Yeah, it's above average entertaining to me. It definitely kind of changed tone back and forth a lot of comedic and then serious type scenes, which kind of matches what the Barry we're getting here does. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. It's a good popcorn movie.
Good popcorn movie.
Yeah.
What about you, Dominic?
About a 3 or a 4, and that's being kind. I did not enjoy this movie. As soon as it finished for me, as I'm watching the credits roll, I get a message from Allison telling me she loved the movie. And the only thing I kept thinking as I'm watching this, this is dog shit. I cannot believe how much I'm not liking this movie.
Listen, I've just I am not as hard on the DC films as I am the Marvel films, because Marvel is just different. They are totally different. And when I went into this film, I'm kind of with I'll give it a 7, 8, maybe even an 8.5. And the reason why I give it that strong half is the 8 seconds I got of Nicolas Cage as Superman. So
I was wondering that. It's like, does she love this movie just
because of that?
Just for Nick Cage?
Nick Cage is worth 3 points at least, right?
Exactly. 3 points alone. And you have to remember, I watched the Death of Superman Lives documentary when it came out like 8 years ago. And I actually rewatched it last week. I watched a lot of these little 15-minute clips about Tim Burton and Nicolas Cage and all of this stuff. And it's fascinating to me how, there are a lot of films that could have been made that were never made. All the actors that wanted to play Superman, and it's just crazy. And if this movie had been made, if Superman Lives had been made in the late 90s, I think it would have made money, but I don't think it would have been. I think people would have been confused. My husband was very confused. I gotta go ahead, spoiler. You guys do not understand how I have to throw this out here constantly. If you have not seen The Flash, don't watch this. Of course, it's been out almost a month. I shouldn't even have to say that, but
and based on the box office, it seems people have already decided they don't want to watch.
Everybody who's seen it has seen it. Who wanted to see it? Yeah.
My husband was really confused about 2 things. Why is Nicolas Cage in this as Superman with long ass hair? And then who's Eric Stoltz? And why is he in Back to the Future? So those are the 2 things that I had to explain. If you don't know your Back to the Future history, if you're not a huge into Nicolas Cage and Tim Burton and all that, and if you don't really follow Kevin Smith, who tells the story ad nauseum, because he was the one that was writing Superman Lives, and it was taken away from him as soon as Tim Burton got involved.
Yeah, the legend has grown, so whether or not Nick Cage would have fought a spider, we don't know that, because Tim Burton probably had dumped that idea.
Well, yeah, John Peters, who produced the original 89 Batman, was the guy that wanted the spider in Superman Lives, and they ended up recycling the spider and the funds that were for Superman Lives to that big Will Smith mega hit Wild Wild West.
So
Which had a spider
I
in
have
it.
heard recently.
Yeah, that's where the spider money went.
So I have heard recently that yes, that the spider might have already been in Wild Wild West. That might have just been a coincidence, and people just assumed for 20 years that that was the case.
Yeah,
Because that was Kevin Smith's assumption. But the spider may have already been in that.
yeah, but how big of a coincidence does it? How many movies have giant spiders that aren't called arachnophobia or something crazy? I mean, you this isn't a B-run movie, and the guy was just hell bent on having it. It's just the timing is just hilarious to me. But I wanted to show I'm going to attempt to share my screen. This does not. I'm sure if Tyler were watching this, he would. Okay. My thing doesn't say share, it says present. So I've got to hit present. And we'll get into the Flash. I just wanted to
That's why I sent you that picture of Michael Keaton, figuring you would know how to share it.
Yeah, okay, let's see. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are a lot of pictures of Nicolas Cage as Superman that have come out, and there's the blurry Polaroid of him blinking, and you don't get to really see. This is the concept. This is what he looked like. He comes back from the dead. That's why he has long hair, I believe, right? Or is it?
He may have had again. There's so many different versions. He may have had long hair at the beginning of the movie because Superman had sort of a mullet in the 90s. So at some point in the movie,
it was the 90s grunge look.
Yeah, and he's got on a thong. I mean, as I was digging deeper into this costume, I was like, the underoos don't even cover everything. It's like a thong.
Don't say digging deeper and thong in the same sentence.
Well, it is what it is, Matthew. That is a thong. That is a super thong on Nicolas Cage. So there you go. But I thought it was interesting. That's what he looked like. I think they did a great job, and I was really, really, really happy to see that. So that is where a lot of my percentage came from.
All right. So that would be. I did enjoy seeing Nick Cage's. I never liked Dean Cain, even when I was 8 years old when Lois and Clark started. I didn't like him when I went trick-or-treating as Superman that year, and I made a point of telling people I movie Superman, not Lois and Clark Superman. So I'm totally fine with us pretending that Nicolas Cage was 90 Superman. That we went from Christopher Reeve to Nicolas Cage to Tom Welling on Smallville, and that's how it played out.
Well, I guess they did kind of pick and choose who they wanted as the in the multi-universe, who they showed as Superman. The epic Christopher Reeve, my God, seeing him on screen again as Superman just choked me up a little bit. I was a little surprised to see Helen Slater as Supergirl, but I guess it is what it is.
I didn't like seeing Christopher Reeve because I spent the past year, because now we're in the age of them bringing dead actors back with CGI, and I'm kind of sick of it and just nauseated by it. And I just said this whole time, I knew this was coming. Like, they're going to use this opportunity to put Christopher Reeve in the movie. I've been saying it for a year to people. Anyone who would listen to me, I'm stopping strangers on the street to tell them, please don't put a CGI Christopher Reeve in the Flash movie. I knew they were going to do it. They couldn't help themselves.
Yeah.
Hey, and I didn't mind. I did like seeing Helen Slater next to him because they never got to appear on camera together because Christopher Reeve wanted nothing to do with having a cameo in Supergirl.
See, I liked seeing them side by side too. But Dominic, I'm okay with them showing Christopher Reeve because that was the Superman, from my childhood. But
mine too.
They didn't make him. He didn't speak. So as long as he didn't speak, I'm okay with them using his image.
I would have preferred something where Nicolas Cage actually, because they call it in the comic books, it's the cosmic treadmill, but in the movie they called it the chromadome or
chronobowl. Yeah.
Chronobowl, and so that's how they did it. I would have preferred, since and everyone's talking about how awful the CGI is in this movie. that Nick Cage filmed something for this. He was actually on set filming it, but it looks like a PlayStation 2 cutscene. So it's like, okay, so you had Nick Cage, but you recreated with bad CGI. What I always said is, like, if you want to, I would want to tip my hat to Christopher Reeve too. So I would have done something. He's traveling the multiverse, and at some point he's in Earth 78, and maybe Helen Slater, Supergirl, is with him, and they bring him to the Hall of Justice. And there's Superman's crypt is there, because in the artwork for Death of Superman Lives, for Superman's crypt, it was, you know, Superman's mausoleum with like a statue of him on top. So like that, you have a statue of Christopher Reeve, or, you know, in the classic, I'm wearing my Man of Steel shirt, or you have, you know, in the classic Superman pose. That's what I would have preferred. Some sort of like a statue or a monument to Christopher Reeve Superman. Like, that's the way I think to do it. So I do have a list of the cameos. So we had George Reeves, Christopher Reeve, Helen Slater, Nick fucking Cage, and Adam West. They had also, but they cut them out. They had Linda Carter Wonder Woman and Cesar Romero Joker, and they cut them for some reason. This movie, I would have forgiven this movie if they did, Allison, that meme I sent you once, and it's a popular meme where it's Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, Joaquin Phoenix, and they won't let Jared Leto hang out with them. That would have saved this movie for me. If you had all of the Jokers, but they make Jared Leto leave, he can't come to the party.
Well, you know, if they hadn't included Christopher Reeve in some kind of form like they did, I think there would have been a lot of tables flipped. I think there would have been an uproar.
But there was a lot of negativity towards it. Yeah. The people are fed up with this. They're like, all right, we're starting to find it ghoulish now that they won't let these actors rest in peace.
Well, I loved it. I loved seeing them on the big screen again. Like I said, it made me happy. I may be in a class all of my own. Like, I was didn't really expect to see Helen Slater, but when she popped up, I was like, oh, okay.
I like seeing her and Nicolas Cage because they're still alive. They're still with us. They filmed stuff, and then they were deep fake to the point it looked like CGI, but they were involved.
I thought Nicolas Cage looked more realistic than Christopher Reeve did. Well, I guess that's because he might have filmed something.
Yeah, so obviously Christopher Reeve, they just took a still photo of him and made it animated, whereas Nick Cage, he filmed something and they deep faked the hell out of it.
Do you think they deep faked George Clooney, or do you think that was the real deal?
Well, yeah, because he couldn't be bothered to shave his beard.
That was Clooney for sure, because I just heard about this today. Maybe I'm a little behind, but they tried for months to get Christian Bale to be in that scene.
I didn't know that.
And he turned it down. The only person he'll work with is Christopher Nolan when it comes to Batman.
Whereas I knew we were going to get a CGI Christopher Reeve, I knew there was no way in hell Christian Bale wanted anything to do with this.
Yeah, like, he didn't want to be. His Batman is more grounded in reality, kind of like the new Pattinson Batman. It doesn't have these aliens flying around and time travel, and I think they're trying to keep that pure.
Yeah, I would have told people don't even waste your time calling Christian Bale. He's not answering. And
it wouldn't have saved the movie.
No,
I don't. One little cameo if that got out, but I mean, Nick Cage couldn't even save this movie.
I mean, Michael Keaton couldn't save this movie.
Yeah, here's the two for my action figure collections. This is what I got. I got a Michael Keaton Batman right here, and there's Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, a Funko Pop form. Nothing of Ezra Miller.
No,
and unfortunately, for people under the age of 35, Michael Keaton Batman coming back wasn't that big a deal for them. So, the nostalgia wasn't. People in their 20s had no nostalgia for that.
Yeah, that was purely for our group.
Yeah.
I think
it's funny because they're having to satisfy across generations for this film, because there's a lot of young people like my son, he's almost 27. And for him, he has seen the Christopher Reeve Superman movies and all that. But his journey with Superman, really began with Man of Steel, but his Batman journey really began with Christian Bale, because that first film came out in the summer of, I think, 2005, and he was 8.5.
Mm-hmm.
So, that is his
Yeah.
Batman, and Heath Ledger is his Joker. So, because he and I have kind of had conversations, some people are kind of confused. Like I said before, some people are kind of confused, like why is Nicolas Cage, or who's that old guy in black and white standing there? It's George Reeves, man. But then again, a lot of people who are going to see these movies, they've done their home and they know what they're waiting for. But if you're, God bless my husband, I love him to death, but boy, I'll tell you what, I had to explain a lot of stuff to him, because he was like, what is this? What is this? And I said, it's a multiverse. What is that? What is that?
Oh, so your husband has a lot in common with Michael Shannon. Have you seen the interview he did promoting the movie? He goes, all right, they called me. They asked me to come back. He goes, but I died in Man of Steel. They go, oh, that's okay, because this is a multiverse. And his response is, I don't know what the fuck that is.
Yeah, that's my husband. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that is.
He goes, Man of Steel, I felt like I was making a movie. My 2 weeks on Flash felt like someone just mashing two action figures together. So that's... And they brought back the actress who played Feora in Man of Steel. She did nothing. She didn't even have a line of dialogue, I don't think.
That really, that's when it kind of fell apart for me. But if we go back to the beginning of the whole film, it kind of starts with, what is it? Barry Allen is working in a crime lab?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's inspired to do this because his father was wrongly convicted of the murder of his mother. And he kind of, well, hold on, we got to talk about this other stuff. Like he's in a Starbucks. I don't know where the hell he is, but he's in there.
Before we go like a blow by blow of what happens in the movie, I think we need to talk about the intent of this film.
And I don't know what the intent was.
How it doesn't even serve the purpose that it needs to, because when this movie first went into production, Walter Hamada was still in charge, and basically this movie was to erase Man of Steel and Batman v Superman and Zack Snyder's Justice League, basically wipe that out of existence, and Ray Fisher is Cyborg and Henry Cavill is Superman. So basically the point of The Flash was, it was up in the air with Ben Affleck, but basically they wanted to make a movie that said, all right, Zack Snyder, Henry Cavill, and Ray Fisher, pretend that we're erasing them from the timeline. So this movie was made to set up, the Batgirl movie that's already been canceled. This was to set up the new plan B. So like plan A was the Snyderverse. Plan B was the Michael Keaton universe, where Michael Keaton's the Nick Fury or the Tony Stark. He's the guy who pins all these. He's the linchpin, and we get more Flash movies. We get Batgirl. We get Supergirl. We get these young heroes being mentored by Michael Keaton. But then when the Warner Brothers Discovery merger happened, so that went out the window. So Plan B is done. So then briefly Plan C, as there's like turnover and nobody's really running the show, that's when Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson really made his big play to sort of run things. And that's why we did get Henry Cavill at the end of Black Adam. And when he filmed that, so I'm sure you guys know, the original ending of the movie was not George Clooney. It was going to be Michael Keaton again, getting out of the car at the end of the movie. So that was the original ending, when it was still the Plan B, erase the Snyderverse, establish the Michael Keaton universe. But then when The Rock's like, no, I really want to bring back the Zack Snyder people back, that cast back, so we can do, because The Rock's like, I don't actually want to make a movie where I fight Shazam, even though Black Adam is supposed to, because I'm not interested in that. I want to fight Superman. I want to fight the Justice League. I want to fight the Suicide Squad. So he wanted to keep that continuity going, and just basically it's everyone versus The Rock. And so obviously they were ready to go with James Gunn, because as soon as Black Adam fizzled at the box office, they immediately, like a few days later, they announced Plan D, the James Gunn universe.
Yeah.
So that's when they filmed. So that's when See, I'm getting ahead of myself again. So when Henry Cavill films his cameo for Black Adam, he and Gal Gadot filmed for Flash. So now, so originally it was just Michael Keaton. It was Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton, Bruce Wayne, and Supergirl. We're going to be waiting for Barry outside the courthouse. Then they said, okay, so it'll be Michael Keaton, Supergirl, and Superman and Wonder Woman will be there too. And then the post-credit scene will basically be like Back to the Future 2 when Marty gets to know that the Doc's still alive, because it's like, okay, so everyone's here, but what happened to Ben Affleck? And then the post-credit, Ezra Miller would be like, oh my God, I got a message from Bruce, Ben Affleck, Bruce. He's lost in the multiverse. We got to go find him. And that would have been Flash too. So obviously that got cut out. And so now it's just, so that's why we got the George Clooney almost joke ending, because I don't.
Pretty much. There's nowhere else for it to go.
George Clooney, I don't think he's going to be the DCU. It's not the DCEU anymore. Now it's James Gunn's DCU. So that's, even knowing a lot of that, I still try to go into this movie with anticipation, because I got myself psyched. I got to the point where I'm so jazzed to see Michael Keaton Batman again. I'm going to forget about all the other BS. I'm like, I know the Batgirl movie got canceled, and I'm hearing rumors that he had a cameo in Aquaman 2 that's already been cut, but I didn't know about George Clooney, so I'm thinking, like, I don't know what's happening now, because it's like, okay, so the Snyderverse is dead, and they're not doing the Michael Keaton movies anymore, so I don't even know what the point of this movie is anymore, and it's not set, because they filmed it 2-3 years ago. It's not setting up whatever James Gunn is doing, so this movie is kind of pointless, but I'm still going to be optimistic. I don't want to be like an entitled fanboy who hates everything. I wanted to like this movie, and if it wasn't for Michael Keaton, I like the actress who played Supergirl. She wasn't in it that much, but the marketing made it think this is the Batman Supergirl movie, and like, let's avoid, even though it's the Flash, let's avoid Ezra Miller as much as possible. I did like them.
I liked Ezra Miller in this movie, and the way I had no idea Wonder Woman. I thought Wonder Woman had completely been cut. When she showed up, I was really surprised, because he goes and Alfred calls him because Batman's too busy, and he's going to a hospital, and he saves a bunch of babies, a nurse and a dog, puts a baby in a microwave. Who doesn't love that? And it was just so, those CGI babies were like Twilight grade fake baby. Okay. I was giggling. So I was like, this is okay. I was not impressed with that whole, I don't know. I thought that was stupid. And then he goes and he meets up with, Batman he catches whatever he's doing, and the Flash shows up, they're dangling from whatever's going, and then Wonder Woman just shows up. And I felt like she just shows up to save freaking Batman from dangling from a bridge when Barry Allen is at a hospital with multiple babies, and we all know she loves babies, children, and ice cream. She should have been there helping Barry. Instead, she shows up with her little lasso truth and pulls them up, and then it's just gone. And I'm thinking that's some bullshit, because this woman has breathed life back into Wonder Woman, and I feel like she was done dirty. And the whole Henry Cavill thing, they did him so dirty. If you blink, you miss him during the whole whatever dome thing, and you're seeing the world spinning, and you see him barely see Henry Cavill. And I felt like, look, if you were going to not show Christopher Reeve, and like you were saying, at least show Henry Cavill. I don't care what kind of beef you've got. The fans deserved it. They deserved more Wonder Woman. And like you said, this movie was started 3 or 4 years ago, and it's like they had to finish it. And it's like you have this whole universe that is completely fallen apart. And now you've got this film that you've got to throw together. And I get the story, like it goes from, I'm not going to break down the whole film, but I mean, it goes from Barry Allen trying to prevent his mother's death, which throws him into the alternate. And when the whole time he could have just gone and adjusted the camera in the convenience store to save his father from being convicted. So it's like all of this, could have just been by trying to save his father instead of his mother.
But that messed with the timeline too, because that gave us George
Yeah.
Clooney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many, like, I still, as much as I enjoy, my son reminds me a lot of Barry Allen. My husband and I were cracking up because a lot of the things, the goofy Barry Allen from the teen, reminded me a lot of my son. And I was kind of confused. Why even, I don't know. I was raised on Back to the Future. So for me, for these two to be encountering each other just seemed like the space and time should have exploded. Like these two should not have been interacting with each other. They should not have been talking to each other. He should not have been telling young Barry Allen that you're going to get struck by lightning or whatever the hell is going to happen. Like you put yourself in that situation. Again, a bad decision. And then you're taking them to the lab to get restruck by lightning, and it goes through you and takes your I don't even, my brain is about to explode because it ends up with, well, we've got to find Batman. And I don't have my powers anymore. You've got my powers. We got to go find Batman. And they find and Batman, Bruce Wayne is hanging out. And I don't know where he sprouted, like the kitchen cupboard. Was he hanging out in there all day before they got there with his long ass hair and freaking flip flops? That is not how I pictured Bruce Wayne would be after the world did not need him anymore.
It's sort of like it took me a while. Like I tried to sort of defend the newer Star Wars movies and see the positives and the negatives, but
yeah,
it's just, I mean, I'm just so tired of it now. It's just like, oh, you remember Han Solo and Princess Leia? Well, they broke up. Luke, he failed at restarting the Jedi Order. Michael Keaton Batman, he lives in a cupboard now eating Parmesan cheese. Everyone, it's this weird thing where Hollywood is selling nostalgia, but the filmmakers are almost like anti-nostalgia. So they bring back these characters, but now they're just kind of pathetic losers and they've given up on themselves. And it's just like,
there's no happy ever after anymore
for any of these characters.
You got to break them down and make them too human, too much like us. They try to make these characters more, I don't know if they're trying to make them more relatable, with our own personal lives, whether it's, divorce or whatever, and things go wrong and you're depressed, but they think, yeah, this character needs to be broken down. That, when I saw them, things ended up well. It's probably going to happen with Indiana Jones too. That I kind of ended in a good way, and you think, well, the rest of his life is probably going to be. I mean, realistically, nobody's life is ever happy ever after. But this is a movie. And
he's a billionaire, though, Matt.
Did it with Luke Skywalker, broke him down. You can just count them off many times. It's easier to break somebody down.
What is it with the long hair and looking disheveled? Yeah. I mean, they did that to Luke Skywalker, and then now they're doing it to Bruce Wayne. What is the deal?
Well, Matt, I have seen Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and whereas Flash made me angry, that film just made me sad.
Oh,
and I'll leave it at
that. I've been warned as well not to go in expecting a happy ending.
Oh, it was just miserable from, well, not from beginning to end, but almost beginning to end. It's miserable. So before we get to Michael Keaton's introduction and the spaghetti, just like this thematically, this movie was about spaghetti.
Yeah, it was a mess.
So even though I think the reason when you do see Henry Cavill briefly, he's shirtless because they were like, well, we don't want to acknowledge which version, because if he's in the blue suit, it's Joss Whedon's Justice League. If he's in the black suit, it's Zack Snyder's Justice League. But I think there was enough hints throughout the movie that this movie actually is in this Zack Snyder's Justice League, because Iris she's like, didn't we bump into each other a couple of years ago? She was in the Snyder cut. She was cut from the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
And Ben Affleck goes, "Oh, you traveled back in time again, but I thought you could only do that for a few seconds at a time," which that happened in Zack Snyder's Justice League, not the theatrical.
Mm-hmm.
But even though, I do appreciate they at least said, "All right, let's have the Snyder cut be the canonical version of Justice League." The tone of the opening of this movie was very much what we got from Joss Whedon's Justice League. Let's make it quippy. Let's make it brighter. Let's try to be the Avengers. I'm jumping around a lot, but I got my handwritten notes. I know Allison appreciates handwritten notes.
Yeah.
That one thing that was weird for me, like they've tried to emulate in the DCU, or that in the Marvel universe, these superheroes are also celebrities who have merch, and I always find it weird that they try to incorporate that. Like in Shazam, they're in a toy store and they have Batman and Superman toys. I'm like, wait, this is like a year. This is 2 years after Batman v Superman. They're selling toys of Ben Affleck's Batman. He agreed. Ben Affleck's Batman has a licensing deal with Walmart or Target that they're selling toys of him. And in Black Adam, there's Aquaman posters. I'm like, does Aquaman have a publicist? Like this doesn't work in the DC movie. That these superheroes are also celebrities who have merchandise.
The other with Batman, supposed to be an anonymous person playing Batman, or who is Batman. How do you write a royalty check to Batman for merch?
Yeah,
who do I make this out to?
Because with the Avengers, Tony Stark, everyone knows he's Iron Man, so he can sort of his people can. I've got PR people, I've got marketing people. They're going to make toys and coloring books and video games for us. But the fact that it makes absolutely no sense that the Justice League would have this. So, but in Tony, so even though the dialogue references the Snyder cut, the humor that they recreated something that was in the theatrical cut of Justice League, where Aquaman sits on the lasso of truth and he starts telling, oh God, we're all gonna die, but oh, Wonder Woman, you're smoking hot, and then he realizes he's sitting on the lasso of truth. They redo it again now with Batman, and he does the lame old joke that everyone makes about Bruce Wayne, where it's like, oh God, why do I fight crime? I could just give all my money to charity, and that would do just as good for Gotham City. So, oh, come on.
Yeah, they went to the well again on that one.
Yeah, you literally just stopped him from dropping a virus into the river. So it's like, yeah, actually, that was the worst time ever to say that we don't need Batman. Isn't Ben Affleck said he feels this was his greatest performance as Bruce Wayne and Batman? It's like, you were in the movie for 2 minutes.
I'm done with Ben Affleck. I don't ever want to see it again. If this is the last time, I believe it is. It was his best performance because he was in it for 2 minutes. So it was good. I don't like him as Batman. I
don't mind him. Though I did miss it in the other movies. He had the voice modulator, but in this movie, he did the "I'm Batman" voice himself, which I'm like, oh, I like the voice modulator because that made him different than the other. Differentiated from the other Batman actors.
Well, Batman's got to hide his voice, or everyone's going to know he's Bruce Wayne. I mean,
But I hated the opening of this movie with the putting the baby in the micro. It's like Warner Brothers, like, you didn't really you thought you needed another headline about Ezra Miller, so now it's on Twitter. People like, Ezra Miller puts baby in microwave, and it's like, yeah, you believe that.
That sounds like something Ezra Miller would do.
And I have a timeline of his shenanigans that we'll go over in a minute.
His crime spree. He was, of the Justice League actors, he was my least favorite casting. I just never enjoy. I found him annoying. He was in the Snyder cut. He was less insufferable than he was in the theatrical release. But this was like, oh God, with there being two Ezras, older Barry, he was like Snyder cut Barry. And younger Barry, he was the Joss Whedon Barry, who you just wanted to smack them across the face.
Yeah.
Well, in this universe, Batman is Michael Keaton, and we are reintroduced to Michael Keaton, or Bruce Wayne, and we're also introduced to, I think her name is Sarah Calley as is that
Kaye. Kaye, you don't pronounce the L.
Okay, Calais. She is Supergirl, and it turns out that she is the blip that has been picked up, the signal that Zod is, I guess, following or whatever. And it turns out that she was shot into to Earth to protect Kal-El. And in this universe, Kal-El, the baby, was immediately died, and she was picked up and has been in Russia in some kind of steel trap, and they rescue her and she kicks everyone's ass. But this is Batman, my favorite part of Batman, because he shaves, he cuts his hair, he gets his back gadgets out, takes the two berries to Russia and rescue, and it was awesome. I thought it was really cool to see that whole thing and to see
that was the best part. Act 2 is the best part of this movie.
yeah, Michael Keaton fighting and doing all that. It just made me really happy. The only real reason why I wanted to see this film was because Batman was my Batman as a kid, and everything that's old is new again. Like, there's a resurgence of everything, and getting to see this again is just amazing. Like, I don't think in 20 years, if they brought Ben Affleck back on the screen, it would mean shit. I'm sorry. But someone like Michael Keaton is just totally different. And, the whole, I don't know. I don't like how he died.
No.
I don't like that they killed Supergirl and they use that as the reason why Barry number 2 is going through the whatever the hell dome thing continuously to go back and change this event from happening to save their lives. And it turns out that he actually caused a lot of this shit, because the future Barry, he's the one who pushed the original Flash into that universe to interact with his young self, to make it where he didn't have powers, and his young self got the powers. And my God, if you are so confused right now, because you trust me, so am I. There is so much shit going on right now, but to me, I'm watching this and I'm like, I'm enjoying this as a thoughtless movie for me, but my mind just keeps going like, you've eavesdropped, you've heard the other Barry tell Bruce Wayne, your mom dies, but you are caught up in saving Batman and Supergirl to the point that you've got shrapnel living in your body from all of this shit. When shouldn't you be concentrating on saving your mother or doing something else? I mean, it just drives me insane. It just doesn't. And then, like I said, I went into this mindless and just wanting to enjoy it, and I did. But I felt like that, I don't know. Priorities.
I'm fine with a protagonist. I don't feel every movie has to be about a protagonist learning a valuable lesson. But at this point, in this movie, it's like, seriously, Barry, just stop. Like, neither Barry ever fully comprehended the damage they were doing. And yeah, I really, the death of Michael Keaton Batman really pissed me off, knowing that it wasn't supposed to be. It's like, yeah, he was going to die there, but no, okay, well, he's going to come back at the end of the movie, because I've already seen clips online, the paparazzi recording Michael Keaton filming that scene, wearing the same suit that George Clooney eventually wore. So I'm like, okay, This isn't really the end, but then I'm like, okay, so they cut that out. They canceled the Batgirl movie. He's already been cut from Aquaman 2. So like, knowing that wasn't supposed to be the end of Michael Keaton Batman, but now it is, that really pisses me off.
Yeah, and I just, basically, like we said, he goes back and tilts the camera where his father was getting a can of tomatoes.
Why at no point did he go back and just snap a picture of the real killer and then go back into the future?
See, that's another thing. It's like, why are you not like, you could have caught the guy. Hey, maybe his dad really did do it. I don't know.
I had a coworker say that to me. I had a coworker say, because this movie didn't have a reverse Flash, who traditionally is the killer. since there is no reverse flash, it's like, well, actually, there's a good chance that Barry's father did do it.
Yeah, that was my thought. I was like, well, maybe the dude did do it. Shit, I don't know. But why? It's like, why aren't you going back to that moment? I
Yeah,
mean, and
no,
grabbing
it
the
never even
guy.
crossed his mind. He goes, "At least let me, even though it would be horrible to see my mother murdered, let me just peek in the window for a second and look at the face of the guy, snap a picture. Then when I go back to the future, I'm sure Wayne Enterprises has facial recognition software. Well, at least let's find the killer, track
Who
him
killed
down.
her? Do we know?
Yeah, not in this movie.
Not in this movie. They left that open. I think they avoided the whole reverse flash theme.
So
It's
the
like
reverse
they
flash
took the
killed
flashpoint.
her?
Yeah, the reverse flash is sort of like his Joker. You know, that's like his never-ending enemy. You know,
Maybe they were
reverse flash
saving.
thinks he's going to be. He thinks he's the fastest speedster. He has to be the best. He's better than Barry Allen, and Barry Allen has ruined his life. And so they
The
took a
reverse
lot of the
flash isn't
flashpoint.
Barry Allen?
Pardon?
Is Barry Allen the reverse flash? I know that's a dumb question.
No, it depends on what version you're looking at, but it's like Eobard Thawne, and it's been different people throughout the iterations, but they left that out. But it seems like they took the whole idea of Flashpoint is Barry goes back to save his mother's life, and that changes everything. So yes, it did. It in the animated movie, he comes back. It's not Bruce Wayne, it's Thomas Wayne. Thomas Wayne was Batman, and Thomas Wayne is older and sort of controls things from the background. And then there's a lot of other things that are different, but they didn't really get too specific. They just said, okay, it could be an infinite number of things happen wrong. Let's not get too close to the comic book. Let's bring in an older Batman, but let's make it Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny, Alison, that the weekend that Flash opened, Walking Dead City had its first episode, because in Batman v Superman, it's Jeffrey D. Morgan as Thomas Wayne and Lauren Cohan as Martha Wayne. So in Flashpoint, Thomas becomes Batman, Martha becomes the Joker. So I had the Batman v Superman not sort of split the fandom, and people saw like certain like media outlets sort of like rallied against Batman v Superman and this weird like brand loyalty to Marvel. They were just shitting on Batman v Superman before it even went into production. Had that not happened, we could have that same weekend instead seen a movie where Negan is Batman and Maggie is the Joker.
That's so bizarre to me. That's even a thing.
Yeah.
That Martha Kent is not Martha Kent. Martha Wayne is even what? What are y'all talking about? Like, I've never even heard of this.
I would have. I like Lauren Cohen. I would have liked to have seen her, see what she does as the Joker.
How is she the Joker, though? How does that even happen?
Because Martha in Flashpoint, Bruce Wayne gets shot as a kid. His parents live, but he dies. So that's why Thomas Wayne becomes a crazed vigilante, and Martha, the loss of her son, drives her to become the Joker.
Wow. See, here's my thing. DC has such potential and there's so many different things that they could do, and they're just not succeeding. And I think they nailed it with I really loved Man of Steel. Man of Steel didn't jump right into the origin story of Superman. We all know the story. We all know Jor-El and his mother. They saved him from the plant. He was, and they put him in the little rocket, and he shot to Earth.
That's how Man of Steel opened.
Well, no, but I mean, they don't dive into it. Like, it's not this big thing that they pay a lot of attention to. It's more of this story. Like, he is on a ship. He's working on a boat. I'm sorry, he's working on a boat, and he's, and then he saves all those guys. I like the way it was just different. And now it's like we're getting another, let me bring this up. So now we're getting another Superman, and let's see here. Grab this. Okay, so now here it comes. We're getting another Superman Legacy that is, from what I understand, is going to dive in to Superman's origin story. Gosh dang it, I know Superman's origin story. I don't need to see his origin story. I don't need to see Superman as a kid. I don't need to see Superman as a teenager. I watched Smallville for 11 years, and I'm kind of pissed off that Tom Welling was not anywhere in The Flash. That should have been acknowledged, because that guy did a great. I love Smallville. I don't know how anybody else feels about Smallville. I loved it, but now they're diving back in. I feel like not enough time has passed. We keep going back to this well, and we keep recasting and changing and changing and changing. I'm sorry. I think that Rachel Brosnahan is too old to play Lois. She looks older than this guy.
Well, she is older than him by a couple of years.
I don't care. She looks older than him. I was looking into, she's great. She was a marvelous Miss Marvel, mate, whatever. And I'm sure she'll do a great job, but this guy looks like a child, and I just don't buy it. And
they'll have him hit the gym, put some weight on.
Yeah, this guy needs to bulk up, okay? And
hey, Christopher Reeve needed to bulk up for the original Superman. And do you know who his personal trainer was?
Who?
David Prowse, the suit actor for Darth Vader.
Oh, okay. Gay.
I'm just happy they cast somebody who's actually 6'4".
He is 6'4", right?
Yeah. According to the internet, he's 6'4", which, Superman is supposed to be an imposing sized person, kind of like Batman. I think Cavill was like 6'1", which is not bad. It's not that far off.
Well, but, look, it's not like they cast Tom Cruise. He's 5'4". Okay.
And he's an American actor.
Yeah.
I haven't had an American actor play Superman in a while.
That's true.
On film.
But Cavill did such a great job, in my opinion. I just think he did a really good job. There was just something about the eyes and the way he portrayed the character that I really enjoyed. And not a lot of people agree. It is what it is. But my problem is, it's just this constant going back and recasting and doing it over. There's not, this movie comes out in 2 years, and we're just going to start all over again. What are you going to start all over with everything? You can't. DC has ADD. Okay. They are all over the place. They can't concentrate on one thing. You got Henry Cavill at the end of the Atom movie, right? And then that same breath, you fire Henry Cavill. So it's like, you need to make up your mind as to what the F you want and what you're doing. And James Gunn, to me, they're bringing a guy in to reconstruct a company that, look, kind of was on its, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, Henry Cavill as Superman, and Affleck is, and the Flash, and you had the Cyber, all of them. I thought that Snyder, all of those guys, Jason Momoa even, I thought that was great casting. And then you're bringing in someone to reshape a company that's already doing good. And what is the guy doing? He's cleaning house and freaking firing everyone. Matt, we know all about working for a company that's perfectly fine, don't we? And then somebody comes in, we acquire something, and then all of a sudden, we're looking for jobs. It is what it is. But I just think they should have left it alone. And I don't think enough time has passed. I'm losing interest.
And there's still Blue Beetle and Aquaman too.
Oh God, what is this Blue Beetle shit? I saw it's got the kid from Cobra Kai in it, and my husband, they showed the preview for that in front of the Flash, and my husband just laughed, goes, man, they'll make a superhero out of anything. I want to see a superhero movie about kitty litter.
Yeah, well, they announced the James Gunn and Peter Safran, who was like he was going to be like running it with them. They announced it between Black Adam and Shazam: Fear of the Gods. So that's 4 movies that are going to end up being released after they already announced that it's being the reboot.
And too much.
I liked James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Right before we end, I'll do my now that the DCEU is officially dead, I'll do my ranking of the films. But I don't dislike James Gunn, and I'm not really familiar with the new actors playing Superman. I'd want to give him a chance.
I don't have a problem with the actors. I guess it's just kind of from doing my research and looking. I just feel like I just felt like that maybe, I don't know. I just felt like it's too much too soon. I don't feel like enough time has passed, and
It's definitely
saturating the water.
too soon. That I mean, the fact that they announced the new DCU while the original DCEU still had 4 films to go.
Mm-hmm.
And like I have Blue Beetle and Aquaman 2, and I really like the first Aquaman, but I do these movies don't matter. The Flash didn't matter. I only saw it because of Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Like so.
Yeah, they had problems with Snyder. They had problems with Cavill. A lot of different problems going on, and then they plan these things out 3, 4, or 5 years in advance, and then all of a sudden you go through all the troubles they have, and then getting bought out by Discovery, and they have so many commitments that they have already got so far along into production. It's a mess, and it's definitely they're still digging themselves out of that hole. And I think James Gunn and them. I mean, I like Henry Cavill; he's my favorite Superman, other than Christopher Reeve. They've decided to they're just going to start afresh, and I hope they don't tell the whole story like you're talking about. His origin story. I hope they focus on more.
I think the Batman did it right with Robert Pattinson. Like, okay, we know we don't need a flashback of Thomas and Martha Wayne being shot in the alley and her pearls going flying. We get it. So they acknowledged that it happened and they didn't show it. So
let's skip forward and see Batman starting off still fresh. We don't need Batman.
We don't need to see Krypton explode. We don't need to see it.
You know what we also don't need to see? Joker the musical.
Okay, no, Allison, me and you we're on opposite ends. I can't wait for that. You gotta come to New York so we can see it together opening night.
Dude, I am so pissed. I'm a huge Harley Quinn fan. I didn't like Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. Lady Gaga, I'm just not into it. And it's a musical. No, sir. DC, you really need to roll it back. Y'all are screwing up big time. I don't even know. Is this even a DC movie?
Joker 2?
Yeah, it is.
No, the Batman, the Robert Pattinson Batman universe and the Joaquin Joker universe. James Gunn said these are Elseworld stories. They're not connected to the shared cinematic universe. They're their own thing, which is good for them to not have to deal with all this other bullshit.
Yeah, these are supposed to be cinema.
Yeah.
Taken seriously.
Well, all right. Taken seriously? Then don't make it a musical.
No,
Hollywood loves musicals.
It's going to be great.
Do what? Yeah. Hey, look. I don't think Lady Gaga's a good actress. Okay? I'm sorry. A Star is Born she did a good job, but I'm not. Look, if I was an Oscar caliber actress, I wouldn't be here right now. Okay, so I'm not one to talk, but I also have had enough training as an actor that I can catch when people are acting. And my acting teacher would say it, or he would stop us all the time and go, "Stop it, you're acting. I caught you acting. Be the character, be the scene. Stop acting." And she acts. And I know that might not make a lot of sense to some people, but you have to believe what you're saying and believe you are this character. And it just is a whole thing. But they had to give her fake tears, dude. They had to give her the saline tears in A Star is Born. What? She couldn't even really cry. So I'm not impressed. There's so many layers of Harley Quinn. There's so much going on there that I just don't trust Lady Gaga with one of my favorite characters. I don't trust that she's going to bring the emotional depth that's needed. I don't trust that there's going to be enough. There's no layers. She's a great singer. She's great, beautiful. I love her as that, poker face. Anyway, but just no, I can't do it. And I will see it, because that's just me, but I'm not going to be happy. I could tell you right now, I'm not going to be happy. And it's very unlike me to just bitch constantly about a movie before I see it sometimes. But as soon as, this isn't what the show is about, but I'm just.
But you'll hate what's Joker Folie à Deux, which is Madness of Two or Shared Madness. You're gonna be as angry when that's over as I was when Flash was over. Like
Yeah.
it was perfect comedic timing. I was fuming, and then I immediately get a ding from Allison saying, what a masterpiece. What a beautiful film I just saw." I'm like, I
had fun.
hated this.
I didn't call it a beautiful film. Now, don't get crazy. But I had fun because I just didn't have any expectations, and I just left it alone, and I was entertained the whole time, and I didn't even get up to pee. That is very rare for me. I have a bladder this big, and it's very rare for me not to have to go TT in the middle of a movie. And I sat there the whole time. And I even knew the good times to go to the bathroom because I looked it up online, because that's how deep this rabbit hole goes for me, that I need to know when to go to the bathroom. But give us your list real quick, Dominic, before we wrap this up.
So
here.
this doesn't have Shazam! Fury of the Gods. That's the only DCEU movie I've never seen. When it was on Max, I just fast forwarded to Wonder Woman's cameo. So I just watched and it was hilarious because she was obviously like green screened and just barely interacted with anyone. So
which movie was that?
The latest
Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
I haven't seen any of it. I don't even want to watch it.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I want to see
From what I saw, it wasn't great. But okay, last is Suicide Squad from 2016.
Terrible.
That was a mess. This was just the second worst Wonder Woman 1984. I was looking forward to this one. It was bad.
It was bad.
Then there's Birds of Prey, which some people liked. I thought it was boring and just didn't click with me. I didn't.
Terrible.
Here's the first Shazam, which I admit it's not. It's a good movie, but it's not for me. I don't like movies about kid protagonists. It's not something that clicks with me. The Flash. This is fourth worst only because of Michael Keaton. This would be with Wonder Woman 1984 and Suicide Squad. Then Black Adam, which a lot of people hated. I thought it was okay, probably just because I like The Rock. I thought it was cool. Then Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition, the extended cut. Then Man of Steel. Then the first Wonder Woman. Then James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Aquaman, second best. I think that Aquaman is the second best DC movie, and then Zack Snyder's Justice League is the best DCEU movie. Yeah,
that one's good. I've seen it numerous times. It never gets old to me. I really liked that one. But like I said, DC's got to get their shit together. They're all over the place. They need to get some Adderall in their system. 80 is just terrible.
I'm still looking forward to Joker Folie à Deux. I don't care about Blue Beetle or Aquaman 2. So as far as I'm concerned, the DCEU, I mean, it's already dead, but now they're gonna have like 2 more funerals for it. Just think though, for anyone who did really enjoy Batman v Superman, canonically the end of that universe is General Zod killing Kal-El as an infant, and Ben Affleck being sent away or being lost in the multiverse, and no one ever bothering to fix the timeline to save him.
Yeah.
So that's how it ends for those characters.
What were you saying, Matt?
No, I was saying, yeah, I think they knocked it out of the park when Warner Brothers hired James Gunn. I think he is one of us in a way. I say that like as far as like a fan and somebody who really knows the comics. He knows these stories. I think that's why he's done so well with Guardians of the Galaxy, as far as just having a pop culture type connection that even the average moviegoer goes to. Like my dad loves the second Guardians movie. He'll turn that on all the time, anytime he gets a chance to. And he's not, he's never, he's not real sci-fi.
Yeah, I like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies
but James Gunn, he knows how to hit the emotions. He knows the stories and the characters pretty well. I think he's put a lot of thought, especially being Superman is his movie. He wrote it. He's probably going to direct it.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see, but you're still going to see that James Gunn something a little off in every movie too. He's got his little signature. He'll have something quirky, like he's throwing in a group in the Superman movie called The Authority, who I've never even heard of until recently. But basically, they're like the Illuminati of the DC universe. They're like superheroes who police, for lack of a better word, all Earths, like all Earth versions. They can cross over to the multiverse and protect Earth from catastrophes or something. They're sort of like an authoritarian, fascistic type group. They're not like the Illuminati where they just on Marvel where they just control one Earth. And so Superman's going to have to deal with them. You know, they're going to have to deal with a superhero coming to Earth and sort of taking a little bit of their power away or their authority away. So he's digging deep. He's digging deep into some comic things. I think he's going to do good with the Batman. You know, if they left the door open for George Clooney, you know, somebody's going to have to be in the Batman story for James Gunn, because he's going to be focusing on like Robin or some of that story or something. There's a little bit something like the next generation of Batman, but there's going to be a Batman element to it. So we'll see who he chooses for that. But
if I had to pick another Batman but to resurface besides Michael Keaton, I will say George Clooney. Look, George Clooney's a great actor. I love George Clooney. I think he did he had to polish a turd in Batman and Robin. Okay, that movie was terrible. It was so bad. He did the best with what he had to work with. I think he had the potential to be a great Batman had he been directed in a Tim Burton Batman version. It would have been completely different. George Clooney has that ability to draw you in and be dark and be like he would be like. I heard a rumor that there was going to be a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton had the Flash succeeded. Well, it has not, so that's not happening.
Yeah, I don't know. Kevin Smith said that on his podcast. But since they had already canceled Batgirl to be attacked, right, they already reshot the cliffhanger with George Clooney. They already cut him from Aquaman 2. So it's like, okay, so you scrapped all the other Michael Keaton stuff, but Batman Beyond was still on the table. There's no way.
Yeah, they can say anything they want at this point. But if I had to, you know, with Michael Keaton's Batman being dead, I wouldn't mind seeing a George Clooney come in and train a Robin or train a new, you know, Batman or whatever. I don't have a problem with something like that, because I feel like George Clooney was dealt a bad hand. Joel Schumacher bedazzled the shit out of the Batman franchise with Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. And God bless him. You know, the guy that he directed Flatliners, A Time to Kill, like he has great films under his belt. How they came up with the idea for this man to be in charge of the Batman franchise, I will never understand. But like I said, George Clooney would be a good one
for an older Bruce Wayne who's kind of passed the torch along, but still has a lot of the resources and guidance and oversee, you know, everything. He would be pretty good. But I would be even happy if they just decided to pick somebody else. I mean, this is a fresh start for a lot of it. They're going to have elements. I think they're going to be very choosy who they kind of cherry pick from the original. Like, I think Gal Gadot's still safe right now. At least I think she's safe. I hope she's safe.
I think she's done.
Yeah, I think originally her and Jason Momoa were going to be like the two sole survivors of the DC purge, but now I think she's out, and this is like total internet rumor that everyone always thought Jason Momoa should play Lobo, the space bounty hunter guy that in the new timeline, the new universe, the new shared universe, Jason Momoa he'll continue, but as a different character.
Right.
That's the first time that's been done. Marvel does it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, look at Chris Evans was Johnny Flame years ago in a different age.
That was for Fox.
Yeah, it's for Fox, but it was still a Marvel property, but totally unrelated. But yeah, they can do that. I think you've seen that in different timeline type movies. The same actor will play somebody different.
Too soon, though, right?
Yeah, it's like you almost all this again. I think James Gunn will make good films. It's just that it's like after this mess, it's not even over yet. We still have 2 more movies to go. It's like, oh man, we almost need like a lot of people have thrown this number. We need like a 5-year break from a shared universe before
Yeah,
they tried this again.
Yeah, there's just a lot of mess. They got to get this sludge out of the tank and get some fresh gas in it and get going next year with new productions. Everything's going to be pretty uniform too. The TV shows, I think, are going to be tied into the movies as far as the continuity. So it's not going to be all over the place like CW is with the Flash and all that. Which they did have a very. Did you see that Flash crossover a few years ago where Ezra Miller's Flash met Grant Gustin's Flash?
I saw it on YouTube. I saw
mutual admiration scene.
Yeah, I saw that, and I saw what was it?
Tom Welling was in it.
Yeah, that was really cool. I thought it was kind of, he gave up his powers for Lois Lane, and they've got like daughters and so I was like, oh my God, no. So why did I watch Smallville for 11 years, Tom Welling? Explain that. But also, they canceled Gotham Knights. I don't know if anybody watched that.
I couldn't watch 5 minutes of that.
I tried, but I didn't make it. And last night, my grandson was over here, and I turned on Superman and Lois just because it was Superman, and he's obsessed with anything flying around. So we watched it first. I had it on in the background, and I was like, so I don't really understand what Superman and Lois is about, but from what I gathered, they have a son named Jordan.
Two sons.
Two sons?
Yep.
How?
Twins.
And they have talents
too?
They're
twins, but they got two sons and they lost a daughter. They lost her before they had the sons.
Wow.
And I don't know if you probably aren't caught up with it. I'm caught up with it, and it's a good show. Now this season, Allison, you should probably, if you want to give a season a try, watch this season. It's got some pretty heavy topic to it, overall plot to it with Lois Lane.
Well, he fights Doomsday, doesn't he?
No.
Who is it that he was fighting in the? It looked like
this year they've got a Bizarro Superman. Okay. And that's related to last season, but they kind of held him over. And they're bringing Lex Luthor back, who was the actor. He was in The Walking Dead. He played Abraham in The Walking Dead.
Oh, is that who that was?
Yeah. So they're going with an older, more grizzled Lex Luthor who's supposed to come back next year. They're cutting out a lot of the ancillary cast next year and just focusing on Lex Luthor next year because he's out of prison now. Essentially, Lois Lane did a story 20 years ago that pinned him for a murder that he didn't commit, and he's been in jail for 17 years.
I saw that part because they mentioned that.
Doesn't Superman and Lois take place in the same universe as Supergirl? Wasn't it? Did it start off as a spin-off of Supergirl? It
started off. Now that I believe this is a different Earth. I think it's totally different because they never reference her at all. You don't see. I mean, that Lex Luthor was who was it? David John Cryer.
Yeah.
So God.
Totally opposite. If you put two people on a scale, you're on the opposites. Is the guy that played Abraham.
Michael Rosenbaum.
He was a good one. I like him.
Gene Hackman.
Yeah, he's a friend of James Gunn. I'd be surprised.
He has him on his podcast all the time.
Yeah, he was. That's where isn't that where James Gunn said that Flash was going to be the greatest superhero movie he'd ever seen, and maybe one of the greatest movies period he'd ever seen. It's like,
you know what he's doing.
I know. It's like, okay, you bought a clunker, and you had to try and sell it.
Yeah, Rosenbaum was in. He was in the Guardians. He's one of the Ravagers. So Gunn puts him in there now and then.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not big on James Gunn, but I did like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies because it's mindless fun. Like the Guardians of the Galaxy is kind of their own thing, and you don't have to kind of worry about everything else that's going on in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, they're out in space. They're kind of doing their own thing.
Isn't it funny that James Gunn, he wrote the 2004 Dawn of the Dead that Zack Snyder directed, and that started their careers, but now their fans fight on Twitter all the time.
That's come full circle.
I think they did the DVD commentary together, and they were actually really funny together.
Mm-hmm.
Well, before we wrap this up, I I have a list that of Ezra Miller's drama behind the scenes of things that have been going on, and I haven't read it all. So I'm going to share my screen, okay?
This
And
is
we're just
rap
going to
sheet.
go over them really quick.
Batman
that-
wants a close look at these
Yeah,
crimes.
Batman's he's gonna solve the crime right here.
Oh my God. Like, I don't even know what we're walking into. I hope I don't feel bad for doing
Let's
this,
get
but it
nuts.
is what it is.
You want to get nuts? Let's talk.
So
Ezra
this
Miller.
this was the first thing I saw. Because this doesn't have, hold on, I've got to go back over here. This doesn't have anything to do with the time, the Flash timeline. But 2011, Ezra Miller's charged with marijuana possession. Big whoop. That's not a big deal to me. That's not a big deal. Okay. It is what it is. April. Okay. Then we time jump 9 years. This is what got me. April 2020, Ezra Miller appears to choke a woman outside a bar.
He didn't appear to. The video shows he did. Did you see the video?
Yeah. Appears. Yeah. So, January 2002. Ezra Miller delivers a cryptic message to the Ku Klux Klan. He said, look, if y'all want to die, I suggest killing yourselves with your own guns, okay? Otherwise, keep doing exactly what you're doing right now, and you know what I'm talking about. Then we'll do it for you if that's really what you want. Talk to you soon. Okay, bye. Okay, that I just, there you go. I don't really know what to say about that. March 2022, Ezra Miller is charged with disorderly conduct and harassment. March 2000, gets a restraining order filed against them. Yeah. I don't know. Is arrested on second degree assault charge, is accused of grooming. This was the one I've heard about. Another parent comes forward with allegations against Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller is accused of burglary. He stole several bottles of alcohol. Vermont State Police tried to serve an emergency care order to a mother staying at Ezra Miller's home. This was like the kidnapping kind of thing I heard about. Reveals they're seeking treatment for complex mental issues. This is just a guy with complete mental issues. Pleads not guilty. Pleads guilty to misdemeanor and begins 1 year probation. The Flash addresses the controversies. He has no plan. He's not going to be recast as the Flash.
Well, they had already shot the entire movie at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I saw an interview with him. I'm sorry, I know that he goes by a different pronoun, but I'm doing the best I can, so please don't come for me. But he did a interview on the red carpet where he was very grateful and even said, thank you so much for everyone being very patient with me and blah, blah. So maybe I'm thinking he has gotten help and he's doing a lot better. I'm not going to knock someone who suffers from mental illness, but reading this list, this is someone who's a little off center and probably needs a little help. So
yeah, Warner Brothers had to prop them up so they could try and release this movie. And that's why the marketing was basically focused as if Michael Keaton was the star of the movie.
Yeah, you're not.
And now
because if you notice, there's the press junkets. Yeah, the press junkets he was not involved in at all.
Now that the movie bombed miserably, they're done with them. And it was funny, like people were dunking on Black Adam for only breaking even at the box office, but for the Flash, it's going to end up doing even worse than Black Adam.
Well, if you look at it, because I was looking at it, how much did the Flash movie make at the box office? And they're saying that it's made over 120 million internationally, but it cost 210 or 200, between 200 and 210 to make. So unless you break even, even if it's $198 million, it's still not 210 million. It's not, this movie's just doomed. It's been doomed from the beginning. I think people are over it. It took too long for it to come out. My son is a huge Flash fan. He hasn't even seen this yet.
Yeah,
And it's not like he doesn't have a babysitter.
You can take the rule of thumb is take the production budget and at least double it, if not triple, depending on how
Yes.
big of a tentpole it is, and that's
Yeah.
where it has to break even.
Yeah.
So this is I think it's going to be one way or another. They're going to find a way to write off a lot of this expenses. Just it's a loss. The company's definitely going to have to deal with the fallout of it.
It'll be on Paramount Plus in a month. I promise you. It's going to be on Paramount Plus in less than a month.
If they do even like Disney has done with like Willow and some others, they'll sell the distribution right or the rights to stream it or something to some other person. Even they only want that on Max. Don't even put it on Max.
Yeah, like I can see that just
eventually.
That'll be out no time.
Yeah,
and I'll probably watch it.
I can think of you just read off the whole list there, Dominic. I think there's a few other things I'll watch that I didn't necessarily like. I might watch that before. I don't know. I'll watch The Flash again. I did enjoy it.
Well, yeah, if I ever want to see Michael Keaton Batman again, I'm gonna have to.
I'll fast forward an hour and go to Act 2.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's all you got to do, and that's the best thing. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Best way to do it.
Yeah, and interesting, they couldn't get Billy Crudup to play Barry's father. They got
he had scheduling conflicts. He was filming a show at the same time.
Oh, I wonder if he was doing World of Tomorrow
or the morning show.
On Apple.
Because of COVID restrictions, you couldn't go from one set to the other. That's why Pedro Pascal basically he just did a voiceover for Mandalorian season 3 because he physically had to be on the set of Last of Us. So his stunt double basically did Mandalorian season 3.
Yeah. Everything about Mandalorian season 3 was phoned in.
Yeah,
absolutely everything. There's not one thing that was not. That's another show we'll eventually get it, but here's my thing. Billy Crudup, I understand you can't go from one set to another, maybe have the two week grace period for if that's a COVID still thing. But dude, how Ron Livingston from Office Space stepped in as Barry, which I thought was great. But dude, he probably filmed his scenes in one day, maybe 2 tops. Billy Crudup can't tear himself away from whatever he's doing to go. Dude, you're not that. No, give me a break.
Again, it wasn't his choice. It was the restricted. He wasn't allowed to go back and forth.
Yeah, we're living in that era of COVID.
That was the more restrictive era. I keep forgetting that, but
otherwise, Michael J. Fox did. He pulled a double shift. That's the big story with him. He did Back to the Future and Family Ties and never got any sleep.
So George Clooney did From Dusk Till Dawn and ER and Batman. Did double duty on both of those. But you know what the funny, let's not leave, before we leave, let's talk about that. Eric Stoltz, they kept bringing up in this alternate universe, this is the universe where Eric Stoltz is Marty McFly in Back to the Future. Now, a lot of people who are not real big Back to the Future fans who don't know about this, this guy, Eric Stoltz, he was in the movie The Mask. He was in
Mask. Just Mask. The Mask is Jim Carrey.
I'm sorry. He was in Mask with Cher. He was in a bunch of 80s movies. A really good actor. He's a really great actor. But they cast him as Marty McFly in Back to the Future. And you can see this on YouTube. If you look up Eric Stoltz Back to the Future, they released his footage. So, it's on YouTube.
Hardly any.
He was too intense. He had no comedic timing at all. It's god awful. It's painful for me to watch. And I think it was a blessing from God that did not work out, because Michael J. Fox is Marty McFly to the bone. There is no one, I can't even watching. It's like you're not even watching. And they filmed less than half of that movie with Eric Stoltz. And then
more. They only released 2 scenes, but years later they admitted we were done making the movie. The movie was done when they said, no, we have to go back and reshoot everything with Michael J. Fox. The actor who played Biff, I forget his name now. He does stand-up comedy about it. He goes it was at the point where the actors were asking each other, what's your next gig? What are you doing after we're done here? Because they were done. They were wrapping up.
Well, I know that they had to go back and film scenes that were already filmed with the other actors, and Michael J. Fox went back and filmed those scenes, and those actors weren't even there. Like, that's how, I mean, if Robert Zemeckis can glue that turd together and make it a big blockbuster, one of the greatest movies of all time, then what is the problem here, DC? What is the problem? There's too much going on. It's too busy. It is too damn busy. You got too many cooks in the kitchen. The only consistent thing about DC is the inconsistency and the recasting. You can't even keep Barry Allen's father the same gosh damn character. I mean, come on. This is getting sad and funny at the same time. It's silly. But anyway, that's my 2 cents on this, the whole thing. But any last words?
I don't know. I guess rest in peace, DCEU, and let's see what James Gunn has in store for us.
Yeah, I don't care about Aquaman 2. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. And now that I'm thinking about it, like, I love Jason Momoa, but I could give a rat's ass about Aquaman. What is he gonna do now underwater? What?
I'm sure it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
It doesn't. Like, these movies have storylines anyway. No, they don't.
It'll be interesting to see what happens at Comic-Con this year, because I don't think Marvel's showing much of anything. DC is kind of, they're everything they have is in the can, and we've seen bits and pieces of what's left, like with Blue Beetle and all that. But
is Blue Beetle DC or Marvel?
DC.
Okay. Well, I know that Marvel has Thunderbolts. Isn't it Thunderbolts?
Thunderbolts. Yep. That's coming up, I guess, next year.
I got to watch Invasion.
I catch up on Invasion tonight. I heard they had the second lowest viewing for initially, first show dropping for a Marvel streaming show. So a lot of people aren't really into it. Of course, it's sort of a obscure story anyway. So I think it'll be good. It's only 6 episodes. They're not going to do the story justice, I don't think. No. It's a lot bigger story than 6 episodes, but it's got Samuel Jackson in it.
Without the eye patch.
He probably got tired of wearing it.
Yeah. Let's replace the eye patch with a really uncomfortable blue contact lens.
Yeah. Cover that cat scratch up.
That cat scratch. Hey, Well, I guess that wraps it up for the Flash recap and kind of DC Universe recap that we're for tonight.
A post-mortem for the DCEU.
Yeah, look, if they want to start it all over, let's just scrap everything and start over in 2 years with Superman Legacy and do what you need to do. I mean, just do what you need to do. But let's just give me 2 years to not worry about it. Give me 2 years to just freaking forget, and don't bring me another Superman origin story. I don't need it. Hey, I don't need it. I don't need a Batman origin story either. I get it.
Been there, done that.
Been there, done that. I don't need it. Maybe the children do. Maybe my grandson does in a few years. Fine. But I don't. I've put in the time. I trump my grandson. I've put in the time. Listen to me. But, All right. Well, I guess that's it. Unless y'all want to add anything else, then we'll continue on to, I guess, next is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Yeah.
The next dream on the list to get crushed is coming up this weekend for me.
Yeah, I know this is just the summer of crushing dreams.
Yeah, I got crushed late last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm scared, but they're going to start showing it tomorrow night, Thursday night. So, but my husband's out of town, and I kind of want to sneak and go see it tomorrow night, but I'll get in trouble because he's probably watching this right now going, no, don't do that. Stop me. Anyway. So, all right, guys, please subscribe to My Weekly Meltdown. Become a patron. Follow us. We've got Big Brother 25 coverage coming in August. It premieres August 2nd. We'll have a precast analysis a week prior. Hopefully, they release the cast in enough time for us to do that. Survivor in the fall. And that's really it for right now. Yeah.
Well, appreciate you having me on, Allison.
You're welcome, guys. Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Dominic, for taking time out of your day to dissect what is the Flash. And any idea who they should recast as the Flash? Any suggestions?
Somebody blonde.
A blonde? Okay.
That stuff is irrelevant to me. Whether or not like the people are still mad that they didn't hire a blonde to play Aquaman, like the hair color doesn't matter to me. I just don't want the actor to be a menace like Ezra Miller.
Yeah, somebody with a clean background, mentally and criminally.
Hey, Jason Momoa had blonde tips. I mean, he had a balayage. That's what they call that. The girl, you like when it's dark and then it's blonde in the end. That's a balayage. Okay, when you go, if you guys ever let your hair go out and you want the blonde, that's what you call it.
That's what I'll go for next time I go in.
That's what you guys need to go for. So I guess they had to throw that in there somewhere. But all right, guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week, Tyler, Beth, and I, with just a regular BS breakdown where we just talk about a bunch of BS because that's all we got right now. Writer strike, which I think is over. I'm not sure. I heard there was news. And everyone pray for Madonna. She got rushed to the ICU with a really bad bacterial infection. They found her unresponsive. Everyone say like a prayer for Madonna. Okay? Seriously.
Yeah, hope she's all right.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everyone. See you.
See ya. Have a good night.
Bye.